Madam President, I beg to move that a bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Variation of Certain Duties and Taxes and to introduce provisions of a fiscal nature and for related matters be now read a second time. The Finance Bill 2020, which is aimed at implementing fiscal measures and other matters that were announced in this House and the other place in October of 2020, is consistent with our theme for the 2021 budget, which is resetting the economy for growth and innovation. We believe that the fiscal measures set out in the bill will help to achieve just that, despite the many challenges we have faced in 2020 as a result of the pandemic and the challenges we will face in 2021 in terms of commodity prices and production of oil and gas and supply chain disruptions, among other things. Just let me remind honorable senators and the public at large about the circumstances in which Trinidad and Tobago, and indeed the world, finds itself. In March of this year, or even sometime before that, in January, the people of Trinidad and Tobago were advised about the emergence and rapid global spread of this deadly COVID-19 virus. We watched on as the virus ravaged other countries, producing terrible human loss and economic shock. And then on March 11th, the World Health Organization declared the virus to be a pandemic. On March 13th, COVID-19 reached our shores with our first confirmed case. Since then, we have sought to deal with the implications of the health and well-being of our citizens, and we have put a number of plans into action, including the rollout of a world-class parallel healthcare system, which continues to respond effectively to the management of the pandemic, an initial lockdown to contain the spread of the virus, numerous public health restrictions, including an emphasis on physical distancing, and then the August 2020 mandate for the wearing of masks, sanitization, the regular washing of hands, limitation of group sizes, and other good health and safety practices. We continue to provide our health sector with all necessary resources. Additional medical personnel have been hired, medical equipment and personal protective equipment sourced, hospitals and healthcare facilities upgraded, and commissioned, and specific sites dedicated to treating infected people have been identified and are in place. Step-down convalescing facilities are also in place. We have also taken concrete steps to secure access to a vaccine once it becomes available, in the first instance for the most vulnerable in our population. Now with the encouraging news that 2 vaccines with high efficacy rates are set to hit the market. In fact, I saw yesterday that New York had begun to vaccinate its residents. We believe that in the near future, in the next couple months, a significant majority of Trinidad and Tobago citizens can be vaccinated. But we have suffered a terrible economic toll because of the pandemic, which has also manifested itself in a very sharp decline in oil and gas prices. Oil prices are still in the 40s, down from 63 or 65 at the beginning of the year. Gas prices are down, and oil production and gas production are struggling. But we have continued to engage in an active social agenda aimed at averting marginalization and alleviating poverty with a very well-targeted social safety net. But we can't lose sight of the fact that the country and the world remains under severe financial strain due to the pandemic. We have to skillfully and deliberately navigate through the current circumstances in order to avoid, as far as possible, catastrophic effects. So we must make compromises. And this bill seeks to address fiscal measures from a compromise position. The bill itself has a number of clauses. Because of the way the bill is structured, I am not going to proceed in sequence. I will move from clause to clause. The first clause is self-explanatory. It's the title. Clause 10 is the commencement provision, containing the date from which the provisions of the Act will come into force, and that is January the 1st, 2021. If I look now at the measures announced in the 2021 budget, starting with motor vehicle imports, we are making a number of adjustments to the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act as it relates to motor vehicle tax, the Value Added Tax Act, and the Customs Act. In clause 2 of the bill, we are proposing that the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act be amended by repealing and replacing paragraphs 8, 9, and 10 with new paragraphs. The substitute paragraphs will provide for an exemption on motor vehicle tax for all new vehicles manufactured to use compressed natural gas, new electric vehicles with an engine size not exceeding 179 kilowatts, and new hybrid vehicles with an engine size not exceeding 1,999 cc's. And this is the proviso. This was not previously announced. We have announced it in the other place recently, once those vehicles have been imported for commercial use. So we are maintaining exemptions on taxes and duties for CNG, electric, and hybrid vehicles once they are for commercial use. The MVT exemption, and that's new vehicles I'm talking about. MVT exemption will also apply to used vehicles once they're imported for commercial use and not older than 3 years from the year of manufacture. These vehicles, new and used, CNG, electric, and hybrid for commercial use, will also be exempted from the payment of VAT and customs duty. And that can be found at clause 6 of the bill, and this is the Value Added Tax Act and the amendments to the Customs Act at clause 9. As it pertains to private motor vehicles, we are amending the Motor Vehicle and Road Traffic Act in Part 1 of Appendix A by inserting new rates for motor vehicle tax for private motor vehicles as follows. New CNG and hybrid vehicles with an engine size not exceeding 1,599 cc's, and new electric vehicles with an engine size not exceeding 159 kilowatts will now attract $4 per cc in MVT. And I may say that is the lowest rate of motor vehicle tax at this time on any vehicle. Used CNG and hybrid vehicles with an engine size not exceeding 1,599 cc's and used electric vehicles with an engine size not exceeding 159 kilowatts, which are not older than 3 years, will attract motor vehicle tax $3 per cc. Again, the lowest rate at this time. With respect to customs duty, a new rate of 20% will be imposed on private motor vehicles, whether used or new, that are electric, hybrid, or CNG, and which have an engine size not exceeding 159 kilowatts or 1599 cc's respectively. This rate of duty is 5% lower than the current lowest level of import duty for private motor vehicles with an engine size smaller than 1599 cc's. This is at clause 9 of the bill. The net effect of these amendments, Madam President, is that in these very challenging times, the government can begin to recover some of the revenue foregone over the last few years with our changes to the taxation system for motor vehicles. We've lost, last time I checked, close to $1 billion in revenue by the measures we have done since 2016, exempting motor cars, as well as plug some foreign exchange leakage, which is the more important point, while continuing to provide incentives to persons to purchase energy efficient and environmentally friendly CNG, hybrid, and electric vehicles, because we are giving them the lowest rates of tax and duty. And as I indicated earlier, for commercial use, it will still be tax-free. I want to make a point at this time with respect to the numbers we are talking about. The total value CIF landed for vehicles in Trinidad and Tobago in 2019 was $2.7 billion, of which $2 billion was for private motor vehicles, believe it or not. 300 million US dollars in foreign exchange went out of Trinidad and Tobago to purchase private cars in 2019. 300 million US dollars. The total number of vehicles is in the vicinity of 25,000, of which close to 20,000 are private cars. So when you look at the configuration of vehicles coming in, just about 5,000 are public transportation, buses, trucks, commercial trucks, etc., and 20,000 are private cars. So the vast majority of cars, of vehicles coming in, are private cars, and they cost the country 300 million US dollars in foreign exchange. And we can hardly afford that level of leakage at this point in time. So that is the primary reason for the measures to suppress demand to some extent and to reduce the leakage of foreign exchange for motor cars. The next theme is technology, transformation, and innovation. And Madam President, how much more time do I have?
You finish at 38 minutes past 11.
20 minutes, okay, approximately. Thank you. COVID-19 has presented a critical impetus and a catalyst for Trinidad and Tobago to begin unlocking the potential of digital technology in all sectors of the economy and the country, including education, agriculture, business, etc. We intend, it's part of our manifesto promise and part of our budget statement, to move as quickly as we can towards a digital society. In order to assist this process, we had already exempted laptop computers, notebook computers, and tablet computers from taxes and duties by legal notice number 314 of 2020, as well as online purchase tax. We already did that. We used the legal notice system. But both of those legal notices will expire on December 31st, 2020. So that's legal notice 314 and legal notice 315, which dealt with taxes and duties. It is necessary, therefore, since those notices expire on December 31st, to change the law itself, the parent law. So, amendments are proposed to be made to Schedule 2 of the Value Added Tax Act, Chapter 7506, to provide for the permanent removal of the payment of VAT on laptop computers, notebook computers, and tablet computers beyond December 31st. It is also proposed that the remission of online purchase tax on these items will also continue beyond December 31st. This will be effected through an amendment to Part 15 of the Miscellaneous Taxes Act. And it should be noted that these items do not presently require duty at this point in time. So the net effect at this time, before this legislation is approved by this House, is that no tax is payable on laptop computers, notebook computers, and tablet computers. We also propose to implement a similar tax-free structure for mobile and digital equipment, cell phones, software, accessories, and peripherals. This will be effected by additional amendments to Schedule 2 of the Value Added Tax Act, Part 15 of the Miscellaneous Taxes Act, and the Customs Act. These amendments are found at clauses 6D, 8, and 9 of the bill. We also want to incentivize persons and companies who invest in technology and innovation. And this flows from a specific recommendation in the Phase 2 report of the roadmap for Trinidad and Tobago post-COVID-19 recovery. Following that recommendation, to facilitate venture or private equity funding and access to capital for startups, especially in technology, the Finance Bill 2020 at Clause 4.1 includes amendments to the Corporation Tax Act, Chapter 7502, to introduce new sections 10R, 10S, and 10T to achieve three goals. First, a financial incentive for persons who invest in tech startups and new tech businesses. Second, providing financial relief to businesses that incur expenditure towards engaging in technology solutions and digitization. Thirdly, providing a financial incentive for creating employment in the technology industry, particularly for young people up to the age of 35. These amendments to the corporation tax will introduce new allowances. a tax allowance equal to 150% of actual expenditure incurred in respect of investment in startups and new tech businesses to a maximum of $3. Tax allowance equal to 150% of actual expenditure incurred in respect of engagement in digital technology solutions up to $3 million. 3, a tax allowance equal to 150% of actual expenditure incurred in respect of creating employment for young people in the technology field up to a maximum of $3 million. We also felt that we should make a bold step, take the risk to forego tax revenue in order to put more money, more disposable income into the hands of our citizens to boost spending, to boost our consumption of products, to boost employment. So as an additional step towards easing the burden borne by citizens during these very challenging times, the bill at Clause 3A amends the Income Tax Act to increase the personal allowance for which no income tax is payable from $72,000 to $84,000, or from $7,000 a month to $6,000 a month. This will provide hundreds of thousands of citizens with additional tax-free income and will result in persons whose monthly salary is $7,000 or less paying no tax. This will cost the government an estimated $750 million per year in revenue. But we believe in the long term, the net effect on our GDP will be much greater due to the expected stimulation in economic activity. It also will assist persons in these difficult times, and this is quite a few of your mainstream workers, police officers, public servants. The median income in Trinidad and Tobago is in this range, $6,000 to $7,000, and therefore this is going to assist the vast majority of taxpayers by putting an additional $250 per month into their pockets. So we felt that in this time we need to do things to encourage people to spend, and therefore encourage small businesses and encourage employment in small businesses in particular. We also had an approach from the energy sector, small onshore oil producers, who have asked us to change the regime for supplemental petroleum tax because they find it difficult when the price of oil hits $50. The SPT immediately kicks in and it makes it difficult for them to invest. So we've agreed that we will amend the third schedule of the Petroleum Taxes Act, and this is done by Clause 5 of the bill, to increase the threshold for the imposition of the SPT, Supplementary Petroleum Tax, from US $50 to US $75 per barrel for financial years 20, 21, and 22 in the first instance. And we'll see how it works. And if it's working and is causing increased investment by these small onshore oil producers, we will continue. Part B of the third schedule of the Act will also be amended to allow for this concession to be available only to small onshore producers, meaning producers who produce less than 2,000 barrels per day of crude oil. We also felt we should try and help young people to get their first home. Previously, we had taken steps to help young persons to get a first home by exempting from stamp duty a deed in respect of a conveyance on the sale of property where the value of the consideration did not exceed $1.5 million. But as the price of homes increases, we're now proposing to amend the threshold further to increase the threshold for the exemption for stamp duty for first-time homeowners to $2 million. This will save first-time homeowners up to $28,000 in stamp duty, and we expect it to benefit 1,000 families per year. Excuse me. Property development. Madam Speaker, the report on the roadmap for Trinidad and Tobago identified the construction sector as critical to jump-starting and catalyzing the economy. One of our immediate focuses in this upcoming fiscal year will be on boosting activity in the construction sector through an accelerated work program that is driven by increased and strategic construction investment on the part of both the government and the private sector, in particular the private sector. To boost property development, the bill before us includes at Clause 6J an amendment to the Corporation Tax Act to repeal and replace Section 16 to allow approved property development companies to claim as a deduction an amount equal to 20% up from the present 15% of the capital expenditure incurred in the construction of commercial or industrial buildings which have commenced on or after January 1st, 2015 and are completed on or before December 31st, 2024. And as I did in the other place, I may have a potential benefit from this in the future, and I declare my interest. Small and medium enterprise stock market. In an effort to promote access by small and medium enterprises to equity funding, it is proposed that existing incentives to SMEs that become listed on the stock exchange be enhanced. Clause 4A of the bill amends Section 3 of the Corporation Tax Act by allowing SMEs that list on the stock exchange to enjoy relief for a period of 10 years. It further provides the rate of tax for the first 5 years shall be 0%, a full tax holiday. The rate of tax for the remaining 5 years shall be 15%, representing a 50% tax holiday from the existing rate of tax for companies of 30%. Wear and tear for plant and machinery. The final measure mentioned in the 2021 budget statement included in the bill can be found at Clause 3B of the bill. That provision seeks to amend Class B of the 7th Schedule of the Income Tax Act, Chapter 7501, to increase the wear and tear rate for plant and machinery from 25% to 30%. And again, Madam President, I may have an interest in this in the future, so I declare an interest. Creative and sporting activities. We also propose to increase the tax allowance from $6 million to $12 million for corporate sponsorship of nationals in the local fashion industry, audio, visual or video productions for the purpose of local education or entertainment, and local production companies in respect of their own productions, as well as companies which sponsor sporting activities or events or sportsmen or art and culture. This is achieved by amendments to sections 10G, I, J, K, L, and Q of the Corporation Tax Act, found at clauses 4C to H of the bill. I would also now like to treat with a matter that did not form part of the fiscal measures announced in the budget statement. And this is additional amendments to the Insurance Act, which we intend to, well, the corporation tax dealing with insurance companies, that we intend to proclaim the Insurance Act on January the 1st, 2021. This is the new act, which has been in the making since the 1980s. It's 30 years waiting. The amendment under the corporation tax relates to companies that would be registered and able to operate under the new Insurance Act. It also relates to a foreign insurer that would remain under the old Insurance Act 1980, 40-year-old act, for 18 months after the Insurance Act comes into operation. This is required to allow foreign companies in the insurance business to do what is necessary to bring their operations under the 2018 Insurance Act. You see, Madam President, for far too long, foreign insurance companies have been allowed to operate in Trinidad and Tobago without incorporating a local company. That is coming to an end on January the 1st, and foreign companies will have 18 months to incorporate a local insurance company, and that is to protect our citizens. Under the Finance Act of 2019, we made amendments to the 4th Schedule of the Corporation Tax Act to provide a new tax base for companies under the new Insurance Act, quite similar to what exists at present. But we also have found, after review of what we did in 2019, to amend provisions to ensure that reference is made to the term policy accounts and not policy account. Just a singular, a plural from a singular, given that insurance companies will have more than one policy account. Another amendment to the Corporation Tax Act, introduced in 2019, was done to ensure that chargeable profits calculated by a foreign insurer would have been done by reference to the 1980 Insurance Act. And we have to continue this because the foreign insurer will be required to remain under that old act for 18 months until it gets itself in order and incorporates the local company. There are other fiscal measures mentioned in the 2021 budget presentation, which will be the subject of another finance bill, which we are proposing to introduce early in 2021. This will involve amendments to the Pre-Deal Larceny Prevention Act, as we announced, Summary Offences Act, Tobacco Control Act, Children Act, State Lands Act, Mineral Act, Liquor Licenses Act, and also amendments to the various petroleum product laws, or laws dealing with petroleum products, fuel in particular, that we have announced for implementation in January, which we hope to get sorted out before the end of January 2021. Madam President, as we move towards a new economy.
Minister, you have 5 more minutes.
Yes, I saw that. Thank you very much. As we move towards a new economy and a new society under this COVID challenge, this crazy virus, we are aware that we will continue to face challenges for many years to come. As I mentioned in my 2021 statement, our objective is to keep the economy moving as far as we can, to stimulate economic activity, to continue to provide financial assistance to individuals and businesses within our means. We already put out $10 billion in 2021 to deal with gaps in revenue and also to assist persons and businesses in need, and to keep as many people employed as possible. We believe the measures in this bill are just the start of achieving those goals. We seek to leave no one behind, and we will try our best to leave no one behind. One of the measures in this bill that I am most happy about is the decision to forego $750 million in revenue in order to put $250 per month into the hands of over 100,000 taxpayers. I'm very happy that the government agreed with that proposal, and I think it will go a long way from January 1, where all of these middle-income persons, or people at the lower end of the middle-income spectrum, will now be saving $3,000 a year and can spend that money in the local economy. And we expect them to spend it in the local economy. And that is part of the Keynesian approach to economics. You spend your way out of a depression. I beg to move, Madam President.
Honourable Senators, I shall now propose the question for debate. The question is that a bill entitled An Act to Provide for the Variation of Certain Duties and Taxes and to Introduce Provisions of a Fiscal Nature and for Related Matters be now read a second time.